Every trail is different. There's pros and there's cons, there's easy parts and there's hard parts, but every trail that you hike is different. I've thru-hiked 3 trails. All 3 of those trails were completely different. That's not to say that one trail was better than another trail. That's not to say that one trail was easier or more difficult than the other trails. But all 3 of them were just completely different. The goal of a thru hike is not just to start at the beginning and go to the end of the trail, but it's to identify the obstacles that you face every day on the trail and learn to overcome those obstacles. So with that in mind, today's video, I'm going to look at some of the obstacles that I faced on the 600 miles of the first 600 miles of the Appalachian Trail. So I want you to sit up straight, listen carefully, stay tuned, and let's get it. If you're new to my channel, I'm the Hiking Rev, and I've been hiking and backpacking since 1995. After having spent 41 years in the ministry, I retired from pastoring in 2017 to spend more time enjoying the great outdoors. The aim of my channel is to take you along with me on my backpacking and hiking trips. I also want to provide tips, reviews, and help on the subject of hiking, backpacking, through hiking, and just all things outdoors. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and be sure and hit the notification bell. You know, just like in life, your goal is not just to be born and then to die, but your goal in life is to face obstacles and overcome those obstacles day by day. And so it's the same way with a through hike. Your purpose of the through hike is to, yes, go from point A to point B and to finish the through hike and reach the end. But every day you'll be facing obstacles, and the purpose of a through hike is to identify those obstacles and then overcome them. So I'm going to give you some of the obstacles that I faced on my first 600 miles of the Appalachian Trail. These may not be obstacles to you, but they certainly were to me. And I'm going to try to give you some things that I did to try and overcome those obstacles. The first obstacle that I felt like that I faced on the AT was the excessive rain. The Ireland Way through hike that I did in 2024, it was very, very rainy over in Ireland when I did the hike. But I think I experienced more rain on the AT than I did on the Ireland Way. Much of the foliage that I encountered on the AT reminded me a lot of a rainforest. Rain can be a big obstacle on any trail. Many times the rain formed into rivers and flooded out even the trail.
The stage just went. We're stuck here. We're a little stranded. The stage just went. Good Lord. No, we can't get out. We're stuck. Pray for us, everybody. Pray for us.
And so one of the obstacles that you're going to face if you do the AT is the excessive rain that's on the trail. Now make sure that you have a good rain, at least a rain jacket. You can carry pants. I did not carry rain pants, but make sure that you have a breathable rain jacket that you can put on at least to find shelter until the rain stops. I sprayed my rain jacket with DWR actually 3 times before I got on the trail, and it really helped out. The rain beat it up on my rain jacket and kept the rain out pretty good while. Many times when I was hiking in the rain, I noticed that there was a shelter that I was coming up to, and so I would stop at that shelter and seek a respite from the rain. But when you get to camp, you need to really find or you need to really have some clothes that you can change into and change out of the wet clothing that you have. The Appalachian Trail has a lot of people hiking it. Not only through hikers, but also when you come to a trailhead, there's a lot of section hikers and day hikers that use the trail as well. When I got to a campsite or a shelter, there was always a lot of people there. The first place that I went to, I think, is Hawk Mountain Shelter. The first night on the AT, not only was the shelter full, but all the campsites were full. Sometimes some hostels would be full because of all the people that were hiking the Appalachian Trail. Another obstacle that I faced on the Appalachian Trail was the trail itself. There were a lot of routes, and I guess because when a lot of people have hiked the trail, it kind of beat the trail down, or perhaps maybe wore the trail down, if that's a thing. And of course, the leaves on the trail didn't help much because you couldn't see the rocks and you couldn't see the roots because of the leaves. Now on the Pacific Crest Trail, it was pretty much kind of a sandy trail. There were some rocks, but you could see them very easily and bypass them. I don't know how many times I slipped on a moss-covered rock or a wet rock and did a Superman on the trail. And so again, one of the obstacles that I faced was basically the trail itself. Now, there were some days it started to get kind of warm nothing, it started getting kind of hot, and the humidity was an issue on the trail sometimes, and you just could hardly breathe sometimes, and the sweat would just roll off of you, and I would be drenched sometimes just from sweating because of all the humidity. Now, the Pacific Crest Trail, again, there were some days that it got up to like 100 degrees on the trail. A lot of people make fun of this, but it was definitely a dry heat as opposed to humidity on the trail. And of course, when you would sweat so much, you would lose a lot of electrolytes, and that would just cause your body just to seize up sometimes with cramps. One of the things that the Appalachian Trail is known for is the Green Tunnel. In other words, just endless forest that you would go through. One of the trail angels that picked me up told me, he said one of the things that he noticed when he went out west, he said all the mountains, none of the mountains have trees on top of them. Now, when I started at the 1st of April, the trees were bare, and they were just starting to get some foliage on the trees. And then come May, 1st of June, all the foliage was out, and there was just a lot of leaves and foliage on the trees. Sometimes you wouldn't even see the sun for the whole day because you were walking through nothing but a forest and a green tunnel. The steep grade of the AT is another obstacle that I felt like I had to overcome. On the AT, I had to slow down my pace considerably because I just could not go up those steep hills. The highest mountain or the highest elevation on the AT is Clingman's Dome, 6,000 something feet. And that's just the average elevation on the Pacific Crest Trail. But the steep grades is what got me and that I had to overcome. And again, I had to slow down my pace considerably in order to climb up those that steep grade. Now, this may not be considered an obstacle, but I felt like it was. But shelters was an obstacle to me. In the Smoky Mountains, it was a requirement that you had to stay in a shelter unless it was full. Many times I would go to a shelter and there would only be about 2 or 3 people there, and I would look around, I'd say, well, it looks like it's full to me, and then I would go a few yards and camp by the shelter, not in the shelter. Now, one of the things about the shelter is a lot of people contracted norovirus through the shelters. Now, as far as the shelters are concerned, the only person I want to sleep next to and that close to in a shelter is my wife. I don't want to sleep next to some stranger hiker that I don't know and who's breathing in my face and snoring, and the other guy snoring on the other side. Now, one of the things that was an obstacle to me on the AT was the blood pressure medicine that I was taking. It caused my blood rate to go down considerably low, and whenever I would exert myself, especially climbing up a mountain, I would get very dizzy, lightheaded, and I could only go about like 20 feet up the mountain, and I would have to stop and catch my breath, and then go 20 more feet, and then have to stop and catch my breath. And I said to myself, you know, this is not going to work. I went to a hostel and checked into a hostel right after an incident. The hostel proprietor told me that she had a blood pressure machine, and so I hooked it up to my arm and found out that my blood pressure was like 100 over 60, which is very low. That obstacle was overcome when I quit taking the blood pressure medicine. Now, by the way, I'm taking my blood pressure now, and it's normal, 120 over 80. And my resting heart rate is 50 beats a minute, so everything's okay. Now, you may not experience this on any trail that you're hiking, but I had a goal to produce my YouTube videos while I was on trail and put them out like once a week. Did that, but at the cost of having to take more zeros than I wanted to. Whenever I would go into a trail town, of course, I would take care of all the things that I had to do, shower, laundry, resupply, things like that, the normal hiker chores. But then the next day, I would have to take a zero and work all day long on my YouTube video. I think next time I'm going to just record footage and record clips, and then wait till I get home off of a through hike, and then put them together, edit them, and put them out on a regular basis. Now, those were some of the physical obstacles that I faced while I was hiking the AT. But some of the mental obstacles that I face were way more daunting than the physical obstacles. I've often said that the mental and the emotional part of hiking is a lot harder than the physical part. And one of the obstacles that I had to overcome, which I don't felt like I did a very good job of it, is thinking about the end of the trail rather than every day on the trail. I got to the point of my through hike where I realized that I was falling further and further behind because of a time that I took off on the trail with zeros and then going back home for my grandson's graduation service. I realized that I was about 500 miles from the goal that I wanted to accomplish hiking the AT. And so I got very discouraged. And so again, the way to overcome that is not think about the end of the trail, but just think about getting to the next camp spot or getting to the next trail town. Make your goals short and smaller so that you're not overwhelmed by the whole trail. Another obstacle that I had to overcome was, again, a mental obstacle. And that was, for some reason, I thought I could keep up with those younger kids on the trail. There was only two groups of people that I basically saw on the trail. Young people, right out of high school, out of college. And then there were retired people like me, or folks that were older like me. But for some reason, I thought to myself that I could keep up with them. One of the obstacles that I had to overcome is to realize that, hey, man, I'm 72 years old, and I can't keep up with these young kids. I've just got to hike my own hike. Now, one of the emotional obstacles that I had to overcome, and again, I didn't do a very good job of it, and that is, I became very homesick, and I missed my family tremendously. I knew I was going to have to fly back home to attend my granddaughter's 8th grade graduation service, and then the next day, my oldest grandson's high school graduation service. I just got too used to being around my wife and my 3 kids and all my grandkids. And so when I got back on trail there at just short of Damascus, I just did not overcome that feeling of homesickness. And it really, really played on my emotions. One of the obstacles that you've got to overcome when you're faced with a long through hike is the emotional feeling of attachment to your family back at home, being homesick. Now, the best thing that you can do before you take a through hike or a section hike or even an overnight hike is to be aware of the obstacles that you're going to be facing, and then do your best to overcome those obstacles while you're on the trail. That's what life is all about. That's what hiking is all about. So I hope this helped you out. Maybe you have a through hike that's planned soon, or a section hike or overnight hike, or even a day hike. And perhaps maybe there's some obstacles that you'll be facing, and hopefully these things that I've given you will help you to overcome those obstacles. Please leave a comment down in the comment section below of any obstacles that you've faced on the trails. Leave those in the comment section below. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about through hiking, hiking in general, the outdoors, be sure and check out the other videos that are there on the screen. And so until then, I will see you next time. On the trail, of course.